Hello from Colorado Springs, and today we're going to walk you guys through our two Pikes Peak competition vehicles, the Hyundai IONIQ 5N. My name is Ron Zaras, and as it says on the window, I'm one of the drivers of these cars, which is completely insane for me to say. And here we have an actual professional race car driver, Robin Shute.
Hi, Robin here. I was brought onto this project to help guide these guys with these vehicles. I'm 4-time winner at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb.
4-time winner in a car he engineered himself. But for this project, Robin has been helping us develop these cars and tell us everything that these need to go up the mountain. So in all of racing, you have cars that fall into different classes, different divisions. And here at Pikes Peak, the division we're racing these in is called the production class, which means that the car has to be very, very close to the street vehicle. So underneath all the fancy, nice looking livery, it's actually a car that's really, really close to what you can get off the showroom from an IONIQ 5N. Robin, what do we have here? Tell us a couple of the specs overall of what we're working with.
Okay, good question. So first of all, the power, 641 horsepower. We also have all-wheel drive. Not only that, it's torque vectoring. So there is an E-diff in the back, and we can adjust the torque distribution front to rear as well. We can do that on the fly or before we drive the car.
And the cool thing is, from a base IONIQ 5 to the IONIQ 5N, you have a lot of improvements with bodywork, with cooling, you have considerations for aero. All of these things help us a ton in a competition vehicle where we can't necessarily change all those things. And to a certain extent, the stuff that's already on here, we don't have to add aftermarket stuff. So yeah, if you check it out, you got the lip, cooling vanes. A lot of these sections really help airflow getting into the wheels, over the battery. All that stuff is really, really important in one of the things that we watch for, which is battery temperatures. You're going uphill, you're climbing how many feet, Robin?
Lots of feet, it's about 4,500 feet.
You're climbing about 4,500 feet, and the higher you go, the thinner the air is. Things are really hard to cool down up there. So all of this stuff is super important. And it's kind of cool because on a car that you're starting with otherwise, you would have to add vents and tubing and piping and all this stuff. Here, we already have it, which is super helpful. So yes, we do have a racing livery, which is really, really cool. You got to make it look like a race car, right? But if you peeled all this vinyl off, underneath is very, very close. Bodywork wise, we haven't changed a thing at all.
Not at all. It's all as you see it off the showroom floor.
So the division we're racing in does not allow a lot of changes to the car. We're staying mostly OEM on everything that we're working on, which means that the things we do change are absolutely crucial to making the car perform. So these four corners are where a lot of our work went into, starting with the tire. Robin, what are we working with here?
So here we actually have a Yokohama Advan V107 tire. It's a road-going tire, which is maybe surprising for a race, but it's a very high-performing tire all the same. It's a 240 treadwear, and it serves us really well at Pikes Peak, where we need a combination of being able to perform really well at low temperatures as well as high grip. And we tested this against a load of other manufacturers, and we found this is the one that worked out the best for us.
The only changes we've made to the braking package is we tested a lot of different brake pads, and we have one little kind of interesting mod here. But the brake rotor itself, Robin, it's a two-piece rotor from the factory?
That's it. It's a stock factory rotor, which is quite clever. It's a combination of steel and aluminum that are combined together in the casting. And the only thing we've done, as you can see, is this what's called a brake cooling ring, and it diverts the air from the inside of the rotor and through the vanes. It really forces that through. Something you don't really want on a road car because it will corrode quicker, but on this, where we want performance and we want the ultimate cooling, this is what we can do.
And then one of the last things that we got here that you'll notice that doesn't come on the factory brakes is this little sticker right here, which is one of my favorite little like race car, race team touches. Robin, what does this do? What's this here for?
This tells you how much of a bad time your brakes have had. You'll see these little squares will pop and turn black as the caliper gets hotter and hotter. And that's just a really good indication to know if you're getting close to boiling your fluid, which you don't want to do. You'll have a bad time.
So finishing up outside, we have just a couple more little changes. As you can tell, there's an extra little antenna up top. That's just for radio communications. We do have a comm system inside that lets us talk to the race engineers. bottom to top of mountain, right? I mean, we could say if there's an issue, anything happens, we could let them know. Also, got a little tow strap here because when you're racing on the mountain, this is mandated by the series.
That's it, it's mandated. Sometimes things happen, so we need to be prepared for that.
So we do have tow straps front and rear. That kind of goes into the safety package of what you need to do to race up the mountain, because let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of guardrails here. It is a really, really dangerous place to race. So one of the biggest changes that you'll see is actually inside the car. So let's take a look. So as you can see, not a very stock interior. We've taken a lot out in the name of weight savings and to make room for the roll cage. Robin, why do we need a roll cage?
It's a great question. Don't know if you've noticed, but Pikes Peak is kind of dangerous. You can drive off of a mountain. And to keep you safe, if you ever do that in an unfortunate situation, you want the stiffest, strongest roll cage possible. So modern cars have to be very safe for all the crash safety. So that's the first thing. And then we also want performance. And this is where the IONIQ 5N actually has extra well points throughout the structure for added performance. And this really tightens up how the car drives.
So another really important thing for safety and performance in a way is the seat. So the seat is a really, really important thing because it connects the driver to the car. Now, that may sound obvious, but a regular road car seat is really comfortable. It reclines, it may have AC, it may have heat. We don't need any of that stuff here. We need to feel everything that the car is doing. So you have a Recaro bucket seat, carbon Kevlar for lightness. You have the halo here, which is really important for if something goes south, your head doesn't go all over the car, all over everywhere. The halos really keep you contained within here. Big side bolsters, so when you're cornering, you're feeling the G's, you're hitting bumps, it just keeps you planted so you could focus on what the car is doing and not really thinking about where your body kind of flails around. That is bolted straight to the car with some custom seat rails here. Then on top of that, you have harnesses. 6-point harness comes in from the bottom, on the sides, over the shoulders, and that ties into the whole head restraint system that you have with your helmet as well. So another thing you'll notice here is a restraint system. We have restraints on either side of the car. One goes in here too when I'm clipped in. Robin, what does that kind of accomplish for us?
That keeps the whole driver in actually. You'll see not only is it supporting, say, your arms in the event of a rollover when they want to fly out, but also it supports the back of the seat. So if you have a rear impact or a heavy side impact, those nets make a big difference there also.
So moving into the rest of the interior, you'll notice that we don't have a center console here anymore because we do have a race radio. We do have some weight savings that we need to get. You'll see we got this little blue button on the roll cage. This is our radio communications. Now, we're not really talking to the engineer while we're racing up the hill. We're focused on the road. But on the start line, at the top, if anything happens, or even during testing, it's really important to communicate with your engineer. So we just push this in. You can hear the radio click on. We have comms in our helmet and we could say whatever we need, click it back off, go driving again. And then the last bit of safety that we have, every car has to have a cutoff switch and a fire switch. Now, this being a performance EV, you do need one extra step on there. So on this panel right here above the driver's head, you have fire, which self-explanatory. You have your 12-volt power off, which is, your accessories, your general car battery. And then we have a high voltage off button. That cuts off everything. All the power from the battery is then just contained within the battery itself. I mentioned a fire button. There is fire safety. You'll notice we have little nozzles here all over the car. There's an entire fire system specially built for this car. We're not dealing with a gas tank in the back. It's a little bit different. So we'll walk through that over here.
So here we have the fire system, and it consists of 2 bottles. This first bottle on my left is plumbed into the vehicle. Now this is an EV specific bottle approved by the FIA, and this goes all the way around the car to these various nozzles. You can see a nozzle here, there's a nozzle by that driver footwell, and there's one in the back. So on that bottle on the top of the car, that's how we set that one off. Now there's also another bottle here. This one is a handheld, and this is when you need to be your own firefighter. And this can happen at Pikes Peak because there's such a long road and there's quite a bit of distance between safety crews. So it's really helpful to have this here because we can actually start putting out the fire if there's an issue. And I've had that in the past where I wish I've had that and I've only had the plumbed in system. And then there's this last bottle. This is something very, very different. This is actually compressed oxygen, and this bottle is for the driver. And because the altitude is so high at Pikes Peak, if you were flying a plane, the regulations would require you to have supplementary oxygen, and we're doing the same. And this is going straight into our helmets, up our nose, to help us drive at those altitudes. You might have noticed one more thing. There's always one more thing, and that's this box over here. Looks a bit like an amplifier, which is weird to have in a race car, but we have it for a very particular reason for Pikes Peak, and let's talk about that some more.
So as Robin mentioned, we took a lot of time to work on sound, which is an interesting thing, but we're working with an EV here, and on Pikes Peak, one of the rules says that the car has to emit 120 decibels. That's for spectator safety. That's for people to know if a car is coming, if a car is leaving. You want to know where a really fast moving vehicle is on the mountain. You don't want these sneaking up on you. So in a normal situation, an EV would have to run a 120 decibel siren on top of the car. Kind of sound like an ice cream truck going up the mountain. Not the coolest thing on the planet. What's super beneficial is we already have a sound package engineered into the IONIQ 5N. So all we had to do was we took the stock speakers, we added 2 through an amplifier, and we're playing the same noises that this car makes inside and outside the car, just a bit louder to hit those regulation sounds. So this speaker right here, one more on the other side, and that gets us to that regulation sound. So when you watch the footage, if you're on the mountain, you will hear this thing coming from far away, making actual engine noise. So in this division, we can't tack on a bunch of crazy aero and bodywork. Thankfully, the IONIQ 5N actually comes with an upgraded aero package. So you do have this roof wing with the scoops that bring it over the back. You have a whole rear diffuser system in the back. You have all these vents coming in, going over the tire. These are actually functional. They go through, they bring air in and out of that area for brake cooling, tire cooling. But the most important thing we're working with here that we would have to add to a normal car, but this already has, is a complete flat bottom floor. That helps a ton with aerodynamics because it helps the car not generate lift when it's going at speed and also get a little bit of that downforce. This thing comes with a flat floor from the factory, so we didn't even have to worry about that in the build phase. So that's it. Those are our competition vehicles for the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb in 2024. We have spent time developing these cars with Hyundai's engineers, with Brian Herta Autosport, and they are really, really fun to drive and also effective on the mountain. So all that's left is to compete, take them up the hill, and maybe by the time you're watching this, you'll know how it ended up. So check out the rest of the series, our Pikes Peak build, how we got these cars to where they are. If you haven't, check out the race as well.